In today's video, I'm going to teach you 3 things that you can do to spice up your blues playing, so stick around because it's coming up. Hey guys, Lucas here with Blues You Can Use. I hope you're doing really well today. Today I wanted to take a few minutes and talk to you guys about 3 different things that I think you should look at applying to your blues playing. In particular, I want to talk to you guys about the minor pentatonic scale. I also want to discuss the blue note or the flat 5, and then I also want to take a quick look at dominant 7 arpeggios and how you can use those to expand on your blues vocabulary. So it's a lot of stuff, but this is just meant to be kind of a cursory look at it, and it's something that maybe you can then kind of go off and sort of explore on your own. So for the purposes of this today, we're going to work in A minor pentatonic, because I think everybody kind of knows that. So starting on the 5th fret of the E string, we have our A note, and then of course playing the minor pentatonic. That minor pentatonic scale is where we're going to work, and I'm pretty sure most, if not all of you, are familiar with that. If you're not, I'll give you the notes real quick. So it's an A, C, D, E, G, and then A. And then those same notes repeat over and over again in that one spot. So this is kind of known as a box position for blues, because if you were to actually draw this out in tablature, it kind of forms the shape of a box. And it's one of the common places that a lot of guitar players, that's where we learn when we start, so we spend an awful lot of time there. And typically you'll probably be aware that you have the A box position here, and then an octave up you have the A box position up here, right? Where am I? Exactly the same shape, but two different positions on the neck. And a lot of guitar players will use both of those positions to get quite a bit of mileage out of them. And the idea behind what I'm going to show you today is to add to that a little bit and give you a few more words for your vocabulary. So the first thing I wanted to do was talk about the flat 5. So that is when the minor pentatonic scale is changed and then called kind of the blues scale. So to do that, we need to add the flat 5. So it's going to be the C sharp or the D flat. Okay, so the 5th degree of the scale, which would be the E, is flatted by a semitone. That's what it means when you hear people say the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th. It's the position of the note within the scale. Okay? Okay, so that's one thing you can do right away to immediately spice up your playing if you're just kind of using the pentatonic scale. And so if you can jump online, grab an A7 blues backing track and start that cool little things like that slide. I do that all the time. And then another one that you'll see is a hammer on and a pull off. That's a pretty common lick. So again, just doing that on that flat 5. Okay. The second thing that you can do, still within this shape, is play around with the major and minor 3rd. Okay, so so the 3rd degree in this particular scale is it's going to be this right here, right? So that's going to be a C sharp essentially, or a C, depending, right? So if it's C sharp, it's major 3rd, and if it's C minor, it's minor 3rd. But what's kind of cool here is that if you're over a major chord, or dominant 7 chord, which is considered a major chord, you can hear the difference. Here's a minor 7 chord, right? That note kind of looms large there. But what's cool over a dominant 7 chord or an A7 blues, or even just something like that, you can get away with playing major and minor using that note. I'm actually going from major to minor there. So that exists in a couple of spots as well. And what's really, really cool about that, so here we have to go back a little bit, but it gives you like one big, huge scale if you think about it. I mean, you wouldn't probably play it like that, but those tricks are all available to you. So like a repeating lick, like okay? So there's two little tricks that you can use right away. Start incorporating those in that position. And what I really recommend is once you get comfortable doing that here in the box position, look for these things elsewhere, right? These minor pentatonic notes exist in different fingerings all over the neck. So you don't have to play, you know, kind of in one spot. And there's a bunch of different ways you can kind of look at doing that. But essentially, it's a matter of practice and using your ear and just kind of doing it. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was these dominant 7 arpeggios. So to piece this all together, the way you need to think about it is that, you know, when you're playing a solo, you need to understand what the chord is underneath that solo. Generally, it's a good idea to have that understanding because, you know, what you're going to do is you're going to choose notes from that chord to play your solo with, right? I think piano players kind of maybe have an advantage when they do this because when they play piano, they can see right away all of the notes, you know, wherever their fingers are pushing the key down, that's a note that they can use in the solo. And because the keyboard is laid out the way it is, it's pretty easy visually to see that. Because of the orientation, the way guitar is laid out, I think it's a little bit more complex. And so I think that is one of the areas where we have a disconnect a little bit. So the way to think about this is that, you know, instead of a guitar solo is instead of playing all the notes at once, right, you're playing the notes from the chord one after another. That's a guitar solo. So unless you know what the chords are, it can make it difficult to have a really, really nice guitar solo. Now there are exceptions to that, you know, where if all of the chords are from the same key, then you can just, you know, blow one solo over the whole thing up and down the neck, and it'll work. But generally, when it comes to blues playing, if you listen to guys like Matt Schofield and Robin Ford and those types of players, this is really what they're doing, especially the Mixolydian stuff, which would be the dominant 7 arpeggios. That's where they come in. Okay, so the first one we'll look, since we're playing in A, we're going to look at the A dominant 7 arpeggio. So it's the 1, which is the A note. Okay. The 3, which is the C sharp, the 5, which is the E, and then the 7, which is flat by 1 degree, and that is the G. So that's the fingering. And then you can continue. And then we mentioned earlier that the A and the C sharp notes are part of that. So realistically, you're kind of still more or less in the box position. So if you're comfortable there, this is a great way for you to just stretch a little bit here and there. Right? So that's A. And the notes of that arpeggio, if I forgot to mention them, are A, C sharp, E, and G. And then the pattern just repeats up and down the fingerboard. So that covers us for the 1 chord. When we want to make the change now and go to the 4 chord, which would be a D dominant 7 chord, the first pattern that we used on the E string still works. Same fingering. And the notes are going to be D, F sharp, A, and C. The fingering changes for the next portion of this. Oops, sorry, my bad. Right? You probably heard me change back to the A chord there. And then we have the E dominant 7 arpeggio, which is going to come out of the 5, right? Back to the 1, right? So you could use the same fingerings that you learned on the D, right? Just starting on the E as the root note, so 7th fret. Or alternately, you can start with the E note right here on the 7th fret. If you think of a C-shaped E chord, major chord, right? If you think of your cage system, there's your arpeggio. So that's going to be your E, R, B, D. Okay, so that gives you 3 spots for those 3 different chords that are all still more or less within the box shape that you can play with. And definitely try that, because it's going to give your playing a slightly more sophisticated sound. Now this is something that I'm just learning as well. You know, I'm not an expert here, but I've gotten interested in this because of listening to guys like Matt Schofield in particular, and this is something that he does quite a bit of in his playing. And what I really enjoy about listening to players like him is he really leads your ear through the chord changes as he's playing. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play a little bit for you using some of these concepts that we've talked about: the minor third, the major third, the blue note, which is the flat 5, and the dominant 7 arpeggios. And I'm going to play just from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, and I want to see if you guys can make that out and can hear that without any chords actually being played underneath. So I actually went 1 4 1, right? Hopefully you heard that. And what I did was I did something with the blues scale here. Right there. When I played that F sharp, what I'm essentially doing is playing the third of the 4 chord, which is the D7 or D9, depending on how you want to do that, right? So, and then I went back into the 1 chord, back to that A. There's many ways that you can do this. I mean, I'm just kind of exploring this myself, so it's something that you're going to sort of need to play around with. One thing that I see Matt Schofield do from time to time when he does his turnaround from the 5 to the 4 and to the 1, he'll literally play right out of this chord shape. So you heard that, right? I'm just playing the chord shape. So I'm playing the 1, the 3, with the root again, right? That's the E right there. And I'm ending on the, which would be the 7. So there's a million different ways you can do this. So what I'll do for you guys is I'll write the notes for each of those dominant 7 arpeggios in the key of A in the description below, so that you can have them. I would definitely recommend then searching around the fingerboard yourself and finding the different fingering positions. For myself, for the next couple of weeks, even though I sort of inadvertently do a lot of this stuff already, I'm not consciously, I don't think, I'm somewhat consciously using these, but I really want to expand on that. So I'm going to be playing with these in particular in the positions that I've shown, which are kind of near that box shape anyway. And once I get comfortable with that, I'm just going to continue to expand on it. So again, the flat 5, the blue note, mixed in with the minor pentatonic scale, the major and minor third, playing with that in and around the major chord, and then finally the dominant 7 arpeggios. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you guys, and you know, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. I am not a you know, an expert per se, but if there's something that I've learned that maybe you haven't quite gotten to yet, hopefully this will help you out. Don't forget to subscribe. I really do appreciate your support, and I'll look forward to making another video for you guys again real soon. Thanks a lot for watching, and take care.